In today's class, we will study exception handling. This error is called what? Is what?
Syntax error.
Syntax error. Will your code run? After this gives an error, like I told you guys, that this line of code run line by line, isn't it?
Yes.
So when this line was executed, 5 has been assigned to X. When it got to this point, it encountered an error. Then it gave an error and stopped working. So it will not run. Do you understand? So other line of code will not run because there is an error at that point.
Yes.
Is that understood? Good. Now, let's now move forward to the next thing. If I have double equal to, is there an error?
No.
Then everything runs, isn't it? Then if I enter 5 4, it means you are not welcome here because the input by the user is not equal to 5. Is that understood? Good. Does everyone understand this? Good. Now, what if I now write this? Is there an error in
Yes.
this code?
Yes.
A value error.
This error is called semantic error and not syntax error. So the first case was a syntax error. Why this is a what? It's a semantic error. And if you look at this code, everything looks correct.
Yes.
Is that understood? Because there is no syntax error. When there was a syntax error, it prevented other lines of code from running, right? If there is a semantic error as well, it will also prevent other lines of code from running. So if I run this code, then you see this. Did other lines of code run? No. So there is a problem. Semantic error can occur in various forms, but I don't want other lines of code not to run because of that semantic error. I hope you guys understand that. So there is a way we can do that. And that was why I'm going to teach you guys exception handling. What do I call it? Now, instead of running this code, that point where I'm not sure, do you understand? For example, what if I'm trying to divide 6 by the user input and the user has inputted a 0? There will also be a semantic error. Is the error from me as a programmer? No, it is from the user. So I should be able to prevent that while writing my programming language. Is that understood? Okay, good. Now to prevent that, then I should use a try exception. So try, then I write try. Then after writing your code in the try indentation, okay, then you write exception as a variable. Then you print the variable. What does this mean? This try will try to run this code. It will try to run this code. It only works for semantic error and does not work for syntax error. So this tries to run this code. It tries to run. If it is able to run this code, there will be no exception. Exception is just like something preventing your code from running. That is the exception. Is that understood? So if this code was able to run, there will be no exception. So this line of code will not execute. Is that understood? This will not execute. Then it continues with the other lines of code. If it tries to run this code, and there is an error, that error that is preventing it from running is shown in the exception. The value is now saved in this variable. Is that understood? Then the value of exception is now printed out. After printing, then other line of code is run. Is that understood? If you did not use try exception, it gives an error and prevents other line of code from running, as you guys have seen earlier. Is that understood? So if I run this code now, division by 0, that is the exception value. Then what does it say? Enter the false value. And what is the value? Let me write 6. you are not welcome here. Other line of code is what? Is now running. If there was no exception, if I did not use the try exception and I try to run this code, it only wrote division by 0 but did not run other lines of code. Is this understood, everyone? Okay, apart from printing this exception, apart from printing the real error message, you can also do it this way. That you don't want to print the error message, you just want to type your own message. So you print something is wrong. If you run this line of code, if you run this, the only thing you see is something is wrong, but not the exact message if you don't use exception. With this, you are trying to print your own error. Is that understood? Or you know that there's something wrong with your code, but this is not printing the exact thing that is wrong. Is that understood? But if you wanted to print the exact information of what is wrong, then you use what? You use the exception. I hope this is understood. Good. So with this, it prints the exact thing that is wrong. Another form of semantic error is there any error with this code?
Yes.
Syntax error? No, there's no syntax error. But this is a semantic error because you cannot divide an integer with a what? With a string. Is that understood? If you run this, the error is printed. Can you see? Then you can continue with the other line of code. Is this understood? Good. Okay, guys, let's take a look at this. So, this is the full, you can also use the try except in this way as well. Try to run this code. If it cannot run, this except throws an what? An exception, like I've done previously, isn't it? You can also add this to extra. Else. Else means if there is no exception. Try to run this code. The code has run. Is there exception if the code runs?
No.
Then else will be executed. Whatever you write in else will be executed. Is that understood? Finally, means whether there is exception or not, this code should run. So this is another way you can use try except. Is that understood?